Hello everybody, welcome back to Leading Our Own Way. What a month we've got here for you. It's absolutely incredible. I'm your host, Andrew White, and this is the basketball month here on Leading Our Own Way. Last week we had the brilliant Steve Moracey. Next week, a former NBA player and teammate of the legendary Sir Charles Barkley and an absolute legend of the NBL here in Australia. And the week after that, the number one pro dunker in the world, Mr. Jordan Kilgannon. They're his shoes right here on the shelf. But don't let the highlight reels fool you. We go deep into his personal mental health journey as well, and it's something else. But today though, super important to me, I get to sit down with a good mate of mine and someone who has played at this game at the highest level, Matty Johns. And this is part one of our conversation. We talk about the highs of basketball career, the weight of setbacks and failure, and what it truly means to develop self-awareness when life forces you to look in the mirror. This episode where Matty takes us on in his own personal journey going to America, playing college basketball, the setback from coaches, the mental health journey of suicide, sleep, and so much more. I think this is exactly what the show is all about. So let's get right into it. So part one with Matty Johns, part two drops Wednesday. Please give a follow and a review where it might help the show reach more people. But here's Matty and myself for part one. Welcome to Leading Our Own Way. I'm your host, Andrew White, and this is the podcast that unveils captivating narratives of resilience and personal triumph. This podcast is for anyone seeking inspiration and insights on overcoming life's challenges. Follow and subscribe, and then we can lead together forever. Before we dive in, I want to give a big, massive shout out to our now new proud sponsor, LOOW Skincare, a brand that truly aligns with Leading Our Own Way. This Australian-born company is dedicated to keeping skincare simple, effective, and straightforward. They've made waves in the US, even landed in Macy's and over 300 stores, and now they're back with a renewed focus on healthy skin and real results. If you want authentic skincare that fits your lifestyle, check them out in the show notes. Thanks to LOOW Skincare for supporting real stories and mental fitness on Leading Our Own Way. And if you're interested in sponsoring like LOOW Skincare, drop us a message. We'd love to connect. Matty Johns, welcome to Leading Our Own Way. How are you tonight, brother?
Good. Thanks for having me. It's a great pleasure and good to come on board with you.
I know. I appreciate you giving up your time, and it's actually been in the books for quite some time. Hasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I remember having a conversation with you when coaching your little boy at holiday camps at Athletic IQ, and planted the seed, and now we're here.
But we actually go back further than that.
Yes, we do.
We used to work at the same school, and I walked in going, this guy must play basketball. And you clearly won't look at me and go, he clearly plays basketball because I'm tiny.
Exactly.
But hey, you're supposed to agree with me.
A little bit, sometimes. A good passer, I'll give you that.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, you've come and helped and filled in for my team, and everyone just pretty much cleared out the way when you were on court.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Now, we'll have you back sometime for sure.
Definitely.
No, thanks for joining me, man. It's an honor. It's always nice to have somebody that I know as well. It just feels warm to have somebody, and I always have connections with everybody because of the pre-chats that I do, and I've got to learn a little bit more about your personal journey. On that note, where will you take us today? If you could think of some words that you could put into a headline on a newspaper, let's say, what would those words be for your journey that you've been on in your short life?
I think just what's molded me into the person I am today. I've told many people this, but I don't regret anything I've been through. I actually take it as a positive because I know I wouldn't be the person I am today, and I love that for myself, and helping others now through what I went through back a few years ago brings great joy to myself.
Yeah, that's great. So if we're on a mental health scale, 0 being rock bottom, and I ask this question to many guests, by the way, and 10 being contentment, where would you sit on that line right now?
Right now, I think definitely, I'd love to say 10, but as a perfectionist and someone that always wants to do better, I think probably around 9. I would love to say one day I'll get to a 10, but I think that's the beauty in life, that you're always searching for more.
Absolutely. No, I completely agree. I've not had one person say 10 yet. I don't think so anyway. But I think even so, I think we can always look for more. We can always look for different ways, and things will always hit us, right? And we have to be ready for it. And I think if at least if we sit at a 8 or a 9, we have the tool set to be able to deal with anything that might come our way. And that's not to say we don't go down to a 0, 1 or a 2 again. But at least if we've done it before, I think it's a lower percentage chance that we'd go that low, right? You know?
Yes, I totally agree. I know now that when I do have those bad days or something pops up, I've got the resources and just knowing that I can get myself out of it, obviously with help of others as well, but it doesn't feel as low as it once did.
Yeah. So on that, again, that scale then, where do you think that number lies? If I met you a few years ago in your darkest moments, where would you sit on that line?
Back when I met you, probably around a 2 or 3.
You were
It
down then
definitely,
when I first met you.
yeah, I think I was still slowly rising. I was a lot better than a year before, 18 months before I met you, but compared that to the person I am today, definitely that lower end of the scale.
Yeah. And back in the journey where, again, you're going to take us even before you met me, which was around 4 years ago, where would you sit on that line then? Where are you going to take us on that point, would you say, on that number line?
Definitely a 0. I think I hit rock bottom, and I always look at the positive of that, of you've got nowhere else to go but up, but I definitely hit rock bottom.
Yeah. So you mentioned perfectionist before. What makes you a
Yep.
perfectionist?
Well, definitely in basketball. I think I've been searching for the perfect game for years, and unfortunately, like life, nothing's really perfect. But some of my anxiety within basketball and games is that fear of missing a shot or losing a game or just doing something negative where you just have to kind of let that go in a sense.
Yeah, it's. I think I don't remember when I was. I mean, I'm 30. I'm 42, right? And I've been playing basketball since the age of 8, and basketball's taken me all over the world. And I don't remember ever worrying about missing a shot.
Yeah.
And I don't remember any of my friends and teammates ever worried about missing a shot. Don't get me wrong, I had my anxieties in other ways.
Mm.
I always cared about, my fear was caring. I remember leaving one club and going to the better club. So I wasn't that starting guy anymore at the better club. I was coming off the bench, and I was probably like that 7th, 8th guy at Manchester. And I was, the fear of judgment, mine was, right? The fear of judgment from the coach. Like, you know, I'd been that starting point guard, wanted that better club, and all of a sudden I'm down the low in the pecking order. So I was really worried about what the coach thought for me. And I think that's what ruined it for me. And I ended up going back to my old club again because I didn't fit. I didn't feel like I fitted. I was worried of that fear of judgment. Does that come into you as well with the crowd? I mean, we should paint a picture of the level you play, and we will in a minute. But do you worry about that side of things too?
Yeah, I think deep down there is that kind of judgment of the crowd, the other team, even sometimes my teammates simply not wanting to let them down and what they would think. So I think it's definitely within the mixture and something that I might not think out loud or talk to someone about it, but it's definitely in the back of my head.
Yeah, well, people listen to this now. They will be aware of these vulnerabilities, and I think it's important that we do share these vulnerabilities because everybody else could be going through it, and you don't even know it.
Exactly, 100%. I think high level athletes experience it a lot more than the average person in the crowd understands or could know.
Yeah, absolutely. My co-author, actually, of my book, he does a lot of NLP work with athletes, and he shared some stories, like even things like with Premier League players, the goalkeepers, they're stood on their own and they've got the crowd around them and the ball's down the other end. It's actually quite a lonely moment because you've got people booing, scaring. You think they can take it because they're earning 200 grand a week and
Exactly.
they're the most, the famous, and they've got all of this luxury life and mansion to go home to, and you think they're good. but actually they could be suffering so badly with anxiety and depression we would never know, right? It's so bizarre to think of, really, isn't it?
I agree. And I think about my journey, you look at my life on paper, and a lot of people probably would think the same thing, that I wouldn't have anything to worry about. And unfortunately, that's not the case. And I think the stigma behind, one, mental health, but two, especially in high performance athletes, is getting better. But I always think it can improve. And I hope my story shows that as well.
Absolutely. Well, let's paint a picture of who Matty Johns is at the present moment. I always ask the guests how people are leading their own way. How would you consider that you are leading your own way today? Because you've been through those moments, like you mentioned. How are you doing now, and what you're doing to the world and contributing to the world?
Yeah, well, currently I'm playing NBL 1 for Geelong in NBL 1 South. Just moved back down after living in Brisbane for 3 years, but working at a secondary school as a learning support officer, and also doing some one-on-one coaching and school holiday camps down at Athletic IQ. It's a facility here in Geelong, and I think working with kids, obviously still playing basketball and loving that. I'm finding my purpose and helping others, if it's just in the classroom setting or on the basketball court, and loving each and every day.
Yeah. You've got some significant, I think, standards of basketball that you're currently playing at as well. So actually, no, let's talk about where you were the last few years in Brisbane, that stint you've like, because you went to some good level basketball there.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to be a development player with the Brisbane Bullets in the NBL. So I spent 2 seasons with them, and then 1 year as a training player. Unfortunately, didn't get a roster contract, but decided to hang around and still live and breathe in that high performance environment. And that was great to continue kind of trying to master my craft, and being around in that environment. You're not going to find a better place, especially in Australia.
Yeah. Who was the coach for the NBL 1 team, the Bullets at the time?
So NBL for the Bullets, it was Justin Schuler my second year, and a mixture of James Duncan, Sammy Mack, and Vandy my first year. There was a lot of changes with the coaches. It was a bit disrupted season, but still loved every minute of it.
Nice. So to explain who are listening to this outside of Australia, NBL is the professional, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Matt, at any point, by the way.
Yeah.
But NBL is the professional league, the National Basketball League here in Australia. The NBL 1 is kind of like the pro league, essentially, in the off season to the NBL. It's essentially like the division below the NBL, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because that used to be called the Suicidal League, didn't it? Back in the day.
I actually played in Suicidal for I think it was 1 year, no, 2 years actually, when I was at the AIS, and one with Geelong Supercats before I left for America.
Yes, that's right. Because Suicidal was stood for the Southeastern Australian Basketball League. Is that right?
Yes, correct.
Bottom corner of the land.
Yep. Yeah, and I think Brisbane Spartans were in it at some point. Newcastle had a team, Mount Gambier, but it was mainly Victorian teams, a couple of Tassie teams as well. But yeah, southeast of Australia.
Yep. My old club, Eltham Wildcats, are currently in there as well.
Yes, we actually play them this Saturday at home. So they're sitting third on the ladder, I think, now. So should be a good game. We beat them second game of the season, so hopefully get that sweep.
Might have to come down and watch them kick your ass.
Yeah, definitely. Hopefully not. Hopefully
no, I'm with you now. I am with you.
Yeah, good.
Well, when I was there at the club in 2012, it was the Big V champ. They weren't there yet.
Yeah,
would have been nice. So. Would have been nice.
Yeah, I know. But no, it's good that they've expanded to give those clubs like Eltham. Keilor was Big V back then, so the expansion of NBL 1 South has been unreal.
Brilliant. You also play a different game of basketball that's massively grown in the last few years. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I actually play 3-on-3 for my Brisbane team. Me and a few mates have kind of created our own team within the Australian League, and lucky enough to say that I'm the number 1 ranked 3-on-3 player in Australia.
Incredible. Absolutely
Yeah.
incredible. Love that. Speaking of the 3-on-3 team, and I don't know his name, so correct me. Sorry if you're listening, mate, but I work with the girlfriend of one of your teammates. She is a
Yes.
teacher at one of the schools that I work at.
Liam McInerney.
Shout hi to Liam if you're listening.
Yes.
Just recently, I think it's important that we explain the ups and downs as well. But you've just gone for the Australian team. How did that work out for you, and how are you feeling from that?
Yeah, so unfortunately, I didn't make the team that went over and competed in the World Cup in Poland, but I was lucky enough to be selected as emergency. So obviously, going into that camp, not making the previous teams, I kind of knew that I was around that outer edge of the team, but had a really good camp, got a lot of good feedback from the coaching staff, and even some of the other players thought from the start of the year to this camp, I did really well and improved. And personally, always disappointed not to make a national team, but know that there's definitely positives to take out of the situation, and moving forward is definitely something I have my eyes on. And with Olympics in LA coming up in 2 years, I think that's a big goal of mine.
Don't forget me. Get a flight ticket. I want to come over with you, mate.
Of course. 100%.
So for the young athletes, like what advice could you give to them who really struggle with that decision making? Because I had a friend, Lauren. She was Lauren Johnson. She went to Marquette. She played college ball in the States for Marquette and played in Europe and Turkey and Iceland and stuff like that. And we had an Australian head coach for the Great Britain team. We had the Olympics in London and she didn't make it, but the stats, and she's explained this on Leading Our Own Way. Please go back and listen to that, everybody, if you want to tune into that. But she really struggled and went in quite deep darkness because of the decision not to be making it to a home Olympics, by the way, in London. And she had the stats that would suggest otherwise. Now, I'm not. We obviously there's underlying issues there in politics and whatnot. But what advice can you give to people who are struggling with certain decisions being made from coaches?
I think at the end of the day, like from this past experience, I could have walked away very disappointed, kind of saying that the coach has made the wrong decision and everything. But I've learnt through playing basketball for 20 years now that there's obviously a reason. I am very confident. I know that I'm a great basketball player, but I might not be the right fit, or I might not play a certain way. And by listening to the coach's feedback, I'm able to not change the way I play or change who I am, but adapt and evolve. So when the next camp comes up in 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, or even 2 years for LA, that I'm in a better position than I am 2 months ago when the camp was, and now.
Yeah. Great advice. Love that. Take it on board, kids. Another quick story I think I should share that brings us even closer together.
Yeah.
I think you know where I'm going with this one, right?
I think
Mark
so.
Robinson.
Yes, Mark.
I love this story, and your mum's probably sick of me saying it because me and your mum have laughed about it a few times. But so everyone who's tuning in, I used to be a club called Manchester Giants back in the UK, and we had a pro team. Nick Nurse, the head coach for Philly, now was the head coach, and I played for the under 16s, under 18s, and so on, growing up in the ranks. So Nick would come down and do some coaching with us, and always be involved in the development teams and stuff like that. I didn't play pro, by the way, but Mark Robinson played for the Giants in the late 90s, and we won championships upon championships. It was phenomenal time of basketball in Manchester at the time. It was amazing. The 9X Arena sold out every weekend, and I go and watch and I used to go to the pub down, it's called the Arches, and all the Giants players would come in, so they'd all know our names. Oh, Andy, you're back here. I mean, I was like 16. I was too young to be in there, but it was great. And Mark probably won't remember me now, but when I come to Australia, I've got Mark on Facebook. Me and your mum get talking. I didn't know she was your mum because you worked at one campus and I worked with her at a different campus. didn't connect the dots for a while. And then she said, oh, yeah, my son, Matty, you might have worked. Oh, okay, yeah, don't know who that is, but, the big tall dude at Tally Street.
Exactly.
Shouldn't have said that, but there we go.
No,
And and then we connect the dots. We've got each other on Facebook. Australia, England. He's American, and your family have stayed with him in San Francisco.
Yes.
That is mental. The basketball world is tiny.
It is. It's crazy how small the circles are. Like, obviously, knowing Mark, I went to college for my freshman year at South Dakota with Nate, his son, and I stayed.
Who played at Manchester Giants, by the way?
Yes, exactly. So full circle for their family, but I know the Robinsons very well, and can't wait to see them again soon, hopefully.
Yeah. Say hi and connect the dots and show them the episode.
Of course, I do. I will.
Where did basketball begin for you then? How old were you when you started playing?
I was 6 years old. I'm sure running around after my brother in the backyard. But I remember playing for Tri-Boys just locally in under 10s, being, I think it was 6 or 7 year old kid that was very skinny and uncoordinated, but growing up, always watching my brother play. He played from an early age. Mum and my uncle had a very strong basketball background. My uncle actually played for the Supercats back in the 90s for a few years. So I say it was always going to happen, always in my blood. But yeah, growing up, it was basketball. I played a little bit of footy as well, but once I started to make rep teams and state teams, the time goes out the window, and Mum kind of made me decide which was going to stay, and I chose basketball and never looked back.
Do you, on that though, modern day everyone, and even the podcast and experts are saying, let kids play loads of sports. You didn't, you just played the one. I mean, I only played the one growing up. I didn't even look at football in England, Did you, once you got rid of that, was it just purely basketball?
From that age, yes. I still played most sports in school to get days off. I also played netball throughout primary school and high school. We were actually, I think we won 4 state championships out of 6 years that I was at Belmont High. We did extremely well, but outside of school, ever since I think my last year playing footy was top age under 14s. After that, the time commitment was an issue. I was going to Echuca, Bendigo, Ballarat every second weekend for state trainings, and there was just no way to do both.
Yeah. You've got some good genes, haven't you? How tall are you?
Yeah, I'm very good genes. I'm 6'8". So very tall. I feel bad for my brother that stopped at 6'2", but Dad's 6'4", Mum's 5'10", I'm pretty sure. So, and my sister's 6 foot, so a very tall family, luckily.
Yeah. Mate, if I was your brother, I'd still be happy with 6'2", mate. All right, just calm down yourself here. All right, because my mum's 5'1.5".
Yeah, exactly.
And my dad's like 6'4", 6'5", and I landed in the middle somewhere. Like,
exactly.
I was tall until about year 10, and I stopped.
Yeah. No, I was always above everyone growing up, I remember. And then I passed my brother, I think, because he stopped at 6'2". I reckon I was around 13 years old and kept going.
Damn.
Stopped at 6'8", so happy.
Did you eat your vegetables?
No.
Oh.
Yeah,
don't listen to that part, kids.
Yes, exactly. So I did a little bit, but it was definitely not the reason why I grew.
Yeah, fair enough. We'll have to debunk that science then.
Exactly.
Did you struggle growing up with basketball and its failure then that comes along with it?
To some degree, no. I was fortunate and kind of lucky. I was fairly good from a young age. I never really missed out on state teams. I made all the country cup camps, and I do remember I made emergency under 16s at a bottom major. But I remember going into the final stage of the tryout for under 16s of the country team, and the night before I went into mum's room saying that I didn't want to go, that kind of wanted to just throw in the towel. And looking back now, that was probably the first sign of performance anxiety. Knowing deep down I should make the team, I'm going to make the team, and if I remove the option of not making the team, then I feel better about myself. And luckily, mum knew that that's what it was and kind of gave me a gentle push to go, and made that state team and had an incredible nationals. And after that, actually got picked for the Australian squad. So very fortunate that mum had my back in that scenario when I didn't quite know exactly what was going on in my own head.
Yeah. God, what happens if you didn't make it? You would have blamed mum. Just taking a very quick break to thank our sponsor, SU Skincare. If you haven't heard of them, SU Skincare started right here in Australia, using Australian ingredients to make skincare straightforward and accessible, especially for men who want results without the fuss. Their journey took them all the way to the US, where they were featured in Macy's and over 300 stores. Now they're back with a fresh approach, focusing on healthy skin and authenticity for everyone. I'm proud to have SU Skincare as a sponsor on Leading Our Own Way. See the show notes for their website and to see how you can keep your skin healthy and confident. And if you're interested in sponsoring like SU Skincare, drop us a message. We'd love to hear from you. Now, right back to the episode.
Maybe. Who knows? Luckily, we don't have to find out.
Yeah. Good job, Mum. I'm the same as your mum. That I think kids these days, we need to push them a little bit more and make them feel uncomfortable in a safe way, right? There's nothing wrong with that pressure. They're all avoiding pressure these days, and I just don't. I'm really worried for future sport. I don't know if you see it when you're coaching kids, but I really worry.
Yeah, I think having a tough skin in the sports setting is obviously there's a fine line of being too hard of a coach or too hard of a parent, but I think learning that those setbacks and figuring out how to get around things is very important. And I know getting beat up by my brother in the backyard on our outside hoop probably taught me a lot without knowing it back then, even though if I did throw the ball at him multiple times and go off crying to mum, but that's a different story. And I think that taught me from a young age how to get through those kind of tougher situations in games, practice, and life.
Yeah. Did you lose to your brother? His older brother, right?
Yeah, so my brother's Sam. He's 5 years older than me, so he was always a bit taller than me, even though I did surpass him around 13 years, but he always had the strength on me, and even when I told him that he was short and stuff, he would just give me a bump and I'd fall down to the ground. So he always had that against me that made it difficult.
Yeah. If I put you on the spot now, who would beat who?
Definitely me. I think he probably would argue that, but I definitely would go, yeah.
That's hilarious. That's absolutely funny. So it taught you a lot of lessons then for that professional side of the basketball game. It feels like that Michael Jordan, seeing you always losing as a child, getting set back, not making the baseball team. Not making varsity, go and play baseball. All these setbacks really, I think, sets people up to be legends, let's say, or better basketball players. And I think we do need to prepare these kids though through those failures and through those setbacks. One day you might go for a job that you really, really want. Yep. But you're not going to get.
Exactly. And even with making teams, like just the fact that I really want to make this certain team doesn't mean I'm going to. Everyone that's at the tryout wants to make a state team or a professional team, national team. And obviously the want is why you're there. But unfortunately, that's not going to get you over the line just by saying, oh, I really want this.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Did you, when height obviously became crystal clear to you that you're going to be a tall basketball player, did anything come your way? Because I remember you sharing a particular story with me, if you're comfortable to share, about height being a factor in certain decision making for certain teams as well. I think I shared the tall poppy syndrome with you.
Yes, yeah, we talked about that. and unfortunately, I definitely have experienced the tall poppy syndrome. I remember, I think it was that under 16 state team, or it could have been even one of the earlier ones that, unfortunately, at training, one of the other parents was talking to, I'm not sure if my mum was in the conversation or just overheard it, but said that, oh, Matt only made that because he's tall. And my mum got very offended by that, and I couldn't agree more. It wasn't just the fact that I was tall. Obviously, yes, basketball, that does help, but you see short people make it in the NBA or NBL. Like, it's not the most important factor, and unfortunately that is the case. But I think I don't think it affected me that much at the time. I think it just opened my eyes to, you can make a national team, a state team, and have a great outcome of something, and there's always going to be people in the background saying, oh, you shouldn't make that, you're not good enough, or someone else should have made it. And um, with the person I am today, it's definitely something I still hear. But I know my value, I know who I am, and I'm comfortable with that.
I mean, that's a memory you brought up. So that must have been an imprint in your brain in terms of that negative connotation that come along with that stuck with you. Do you think you used it for the better, or did it ever get to you at any point?
Um, I think to some degree, a little bit of both, probably.
Mm.
I think making teams after that comment was made, I probably did go in thinking, oh, yeah, I am one of the tallest people. I should make it. But I think by saying that, I was lucky enough that my brother did stop growing at 6'2", and in basketball terms, that is on the shorter end of the stick. And my uncle, that was my local coach, started playing me more as a guard, and that was where I was able to develop more of the guard skills, and that's helped me through my career immensely. And very grateful that my uncle did that, and even other coach was okay with kind of having a longer leash with me, being able to play multiple positions, not pinching, holding me. All right, you're 6'8". Let's get down on the block, and you can play the post. And so, yes, it definitely was in my head about, I'm the tall basketball guy, and I should make this team, where I think it also helps me.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. So, just before we go on to the next part of your basketball journey, what were you like at school? You were a good learner. Basketball obviously put you on the map maybe at school. I think, if it wasn't for basketball and me being a fast runner, I would have been a total geek at school.
Yeah.
What was basketball kind of, I suppose, gave me a purpose outside of learning, even still inside school. It allowed me to connect with different people. What was school like for you?
Yeah, definitely. Never enjoyed school that much. I loved PE and playing basketball at lunchtime, but I think being good at basketball, having my pathway of wanting to go to America to college, knowing school's still important, and I think that helped me probably scrape in. I know that some of my scores and some of my tests weren't amazing, but I always knew that I had to get a certain mark or grade, 2.0 GPA, to get into college. So the basketball side of things, obviously everyone knew that I played. I always played in the school teams and everything, but to the learning part, I did what I needed to do and not much else. I think looking back at it, I probably wish I did a little bit more, just to kind of broaden my horizon, I guess, with the learning side. But even when I got to college, I knew I wasn't there to get a degree. I knew I was there to play basketball, but I had to study, I had to go to school, and unfortunately, I didn't end up graduating from college and getting a diploma, but I still got a lot of credits that I think I could transfer back here if need be.
Yeah, yeah. So going back to your high school, I think you said it before, Belmont High. You left school early, right, to go to Canberra?
Yes, so I left halfway through year 11. I was lucky enough to receive a scholarship to the Australian Institute of Sport in Canberra. Lovely part of the country.
Quiet.
But yeah, it was very cold in the winters and as a 17, 18-year-old, somewhat boring, but it was unbelievable. To this day, I don't think I'd be the basketball player without all the coaches there, the facilities, being able to live there for a year and a half, second half of year 11 and my whole year 12 year. I think in that environment, I think at the time there was 12 other Aussies, and then the global academy just was starting up, and being in that constant high performance, high performance athlete environment helped so much, even to the point of getting ready for college, being away from home. Yes, being able to fly home an hour compared to 16 hours to America, but it gets you ready for that environment and even the professional lifestyle as well.
Absolutely. So when you returned home from Canberra, when were you in the States then? How
So
quickly?
I ended up coming home in December after graduating high school, and I played Seabull for Geelong Supercats for I think it was 7 months before I headed off to the University of South Dakota. So I was home for about 7 months. I think just missed finals because I had to go over for the start of the school years because their school years is flipped to us. But
Yeah.
yeah, and then spent a good 2 years at University of South Dakota.
Yeah, nice. Before you got there, did you, well, in any point in your career, is there any major injuries that you've suffered?
Yeah, so actually, at the start of my time at the AIS, 2 weeks before, 2 weeks, I think it was 2 weeks before I moved up there, I just returned home from the Under 17 World Championships in Spain,
Mm.
and I had fallen on my knee 6 months earlier. So it wasn't great, but I knew that it was a big 6 months ahead, and I found a point where taping it up and during recovery, rehab, and stuff, working with physios, I got through. And after the World Championships, came home, got an MRI, and got told I needed to have surgery. I had tripartite patella. So in English, it means that I split my kneecap.
Oh,
My kneecap didn't fuse properly when I was born.
oh,
So I had two extra bones that during the fall had dislodged. So unfortunately, had to have surgery. I got told by the surgeon I'd be back playing in 8 weeks. Unfortunately, it took me 19 weeks to get back on the court fully fit.
why?
So that in itself was a very hard time. I
Mm.
had to build up all my muscle again. I think within 2 to 3 days, I looked down, took my bandages off, and my whole leg was as skinny as I was when I was 12 years old. Like I had zero muscle. That's what happens when you sit on the couch for 3 days. But yeah, it was a tough time. But looking back at it, being at the RAS, being able to see the physio, the doctors every single day, in the weight room every single day, I don't think I would have been back quicker if I was just at home and only seeing a physio once or twice a week.
Yeah. Did that set you back whilst you were there in terms of the basketball program?
Um, I definitely think so. I wasn't able to hit the ground running. It took me a full 6 months to kind of get involved everything. Obviously, I was shooting around, doing small bits, ticking off boxes through the rehab cycle, but I definitely feel like if I had that 6 months, what would I become? Or how
Mm.
much different my experience there, or would that have changed something else in the future? But um, I also try and focus on that positive of there's probably no better place in the country to rehab after surgery.
Yeah. Great mindset. Love it. So you're in, I mean, it's every kid's dream, right? To go to,
Mm.
well, not every kid's dream, but it's every kid's basketball dream to
Yes.
go to the States. Even my son would love to go to the States, and I say, well,
Yeah.
you can listen to Matty Johns at training then and,
Yeah.
and put the work in, because I think we're at that stage where he's really struggling with that, right? And they don't see that yet. I mean, he's only 9. I get it, but
Yes.
I know I'm frustrated because
Yes, exactly.
where we've
Yes.
done in the game, right? Not that I've been to your level or anything, but I'm very aware of the dedication. It's your dream to go to the States. Every kid's dream to go to the States. You're South Dakota. It's this dream. You're on the plane. You're excited, but it's not all what it seems to be, is it? Especially if you're a home body and you miss mum and dad. It's not easy. Like you say, that's a 16-hour flight compared to that one. What was America? There's going to be a lot of people listening to this, so tell everybody who's going to do. I mean, we've got a few local lads going to Davidson now as we speak, right, and going to the States over the summer, which is incredible. But what should they look out for and be prepared for outside of just working hard as a basketball player?
Yeah, so moving to South Dakota, I was fairly lucky to have one of the assistant coaches there, Australian, that I had already known about, had trained with, Brad Davidson. So going into it, I somewhat felt comfortable because I knew I had him, and his wife was amazing and said that I could go over anytime, have dinner, hang out with their kids and stuff. But still, I didn't know anyone that close. I met the team when I went on my 48-hour visit. You meet everyone, but it's very surface level encounters, and you're kind of thrown in the deep end. You have to sort everything out by yourself for school, for practice, your dorm rooms, where coming from the RAS, there's so much help. Everything's kind of put in dot points for you to do, where at college it was like, all right, you need to do this. We'll see you at practice at 6 a.m. tomorrow. And not having any close family, I was lucky enough to have my godmother over there, but she was living in Maine at the time, so not close again. But it's just preparing yourself to feel all the emotions. I think obviously it's a very exciting time. I know I was very over the moon of getting on that plane and going to live my dream since I was a 6-year-old kid running around the backyard with my brother. But I think knowing that at some point you're going to feel homesick, something's not going to go right, you might fail a test, but enjoy those moments of the struggle and the waves of life and college basketball.
Yeah. What was your biggest struggle then when you arrived?
I think the adjustment with school wasn't great. Unfortunately, after my first semester, I had a 1.6 GPA that is below a C average. Just understanding how the schooling system over there works is very different to Australia. And I feel like just being on your own fully, like, yes, you're in the team environment. I was living with 3 teammates in the dorm rooms, but everything's on you, and I hadn't had to figure those day-to-day things out, where I always had mum or dad at home, or even at the RAS, we had residence assistants, kind of academic advisors that were always constantly checking in. And granted, we did it South Dakota once a month meetings with the academic advisor, but just figuring stuff out was the biggest trouble I found at the start.
Did you have any advice or guidance before going?
Yeah, definitely. My brother went to junior college for 2 years, so the pathway and how to get there was set out for me very clearly, and I'm very grateful for that. So talked to him, had a lot of old coaches and mentors that kind of gave me tips that they had when they went through the system, or just other teammates I had that were a bit older than me. And a lot of them just said, have fun, like soak everything in, because there's a lot going on, and sometimes you can get stuck in your little hole of the school and not go out, experience other sports, meet new people, like even just get out of your dorm room.
Yeah. Mm. What year was it when you arrived there?
It was 2018.
2018.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you would have been what? 18?
I went over 19, just
19
after
years
my
old.
19th birthday, a couple months after.
So when did your, because you mentioned at the beginning of the episode, your mental health decline started whilst you were there. Paint a picture for us who Matty was at that time and where it started to, because there's a build-up of things, wasn't it?
Yeah, so I was very lucky. My freshman year, I actually broke the record for most starts as a freshman. I think it was 19 out of the 34 games. So had a very good first year. Lucky enough to start all those games, play well, really get stuck into it, and was excited to come back for my second year, my sophomore year, and kind of get stuck into it, try and get another notch under my belt and kind of keep taking steps forward. And it wasn't until my second year that the mental struggles really started to come into play, and the balance, I guess, getting over that honeymoon phase of being over there, of being in 3 foot of snow for 4 months of the year definitely didn't help either.
Especially if you're
Coming
from Australia.
Yes, exactly. Being 15 minutes from the beach and being in a landlocked state of South Dakota where it's freezing most of the year, I think everything just started to stack up.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, never thought about even the weather plays a huge part, doesn't it? A huge
Yeah.
part.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. Like, I remember going for summer school there and it was 30 degrees and everything was green and I loved it. And then 6 months later, when everything's white, you don't want to walk outside because it's too cold. It makes a huge difference.
What temperature would it go to there?
Uh, I think it got down to -30. There was a week in my second year that they called it a polar vortex. School
Oh,
got cancelled for 2 days. I think it was -35 or something.
Celsius.
Yes, yeah.
My
So, but
God.
on a good day, it would get to -5 Celsius in the middle of winter. So yeah, it was freezing to say the least.
So you have a great first year. You get a record. You said it yourself about the honeymoon period being over, gone into your
Mhm.
second year. The pressure's on now. You've got this ranking, you've got this status. Um, Take us to 2019 then when there's a date you gave me.
Yeah, November 11th, I'm pretty sure it was my lowest point.
Yeah.
At the start of that second year, I started to struggle with sleep, and anxiety. At the time, I didn't quite know that it was anxiety, but wasn't feeling great in bed and was staying up late watching stuff until I fell asleep. And I would always go out for a drive at night and just kind of listen to music. There was a nice lookout about 10 minutes away from campus, and we'd just sit there and go on my phone and kind of try and turn my mind off, because when I went to bed, my mind wouldn't turn off. It would normally turn on and go into overdrive. And unfortunately, I got to November 11th without sleeping for 2 nights before. Went out for, I guess, my nightly drive and got to a point where I had to cross a bridge to get to the lookout, and kind of decided that I was going to drive off the bridge and commit suicide.
Why that day?
Uh, I think it just got all too much. Not sleeping for 2 nights, everything in my head was saying that that was the answer. And I was tired. I was burnt out physically, emotionally. I was sick of feeling the way I did, and at that time, that sounded like the answer to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, I mean, look, sleep that's where I started to focus on in the beginning of my journey of recovery, or trying to get into aiming to that high level of contentment of that mental health scale. Sleep was a factor that I really started to look at the brain. And people might not know this, but, if you don't sleep, the brain's going to shrivel up and you start to go crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And 2 nights is a long time. It really, really is. But I probably want to get to the root of why you started not to sleep. Was it the basketball? Was it the pressure? Was it, I don't know, lack of connection? Was it missing home? Was it shit food? Whatever it may be, can you paint a picture of, I don't know, the days, weeks, wherever you feel is pivotal leading to those 2 days? Maybe you've never reflected on this. Maybe you have. But take us to that period, significant time before that lack of sleep of 2 nights. Where was you at then?
I think it probably all started with the start of my second year. So unfortunately, when I was 18, I had a heart procedure. Found I had Wolff Parkinson's White once I got my appendix out. But at the start of my second year, I started to have chest pain while playing and training. And so they shut me down from training in pre-season and had to see a heart specialist and wear a heart monitor for a few days, and ended out being all clear. Everything was fine by my heart. And then the doctor said, "Oh, do you think it could be anxiety?" And I said, "Oh, probably not. Like, I thought it was my heart. I had a heart procedure 2 years ago. Like, the dots connected for me in my head that it was my heart." But I think that was a start, that the anxiety about being away from home, not practicing and not doing what I was at college to do, and then the stress and trying to have that balance of school, basketball, and life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't know about the heart procedure, by the way.
Yeah.
What was that again for?
So it was Wolff Parkinson's White. So it was pretty much an extra pathway that can kind of set off your heart. So they said that I had a 50% higher chance of having cardiac arrest while playing.
Wow.
That kind of connected some dots when I was younger. I used to finish the school fun run and faint at the finish line. My mum always used to say, "Oh, he just went too hard and trying to do as fast as he can," and that kind of connected dots at a later age. But I never had anything kind of in my higher teenage years until I had my appendix out, had surgery, and then when the surgeon came out, he was like, "Oh yeah, everything went well, but we did find something unusual with your heart." And I was like, "Okay, it's not great to hear." And he said that we're pretty sure you have a heart condition. So went to a few specialist cardiologists, and then I think it was 6 weeks after my appendix removal, I went back under and had an ablation. It's where they go up and kind of zap, electronical zap that pathway so it scars over so those messages can't get through. So luckily haven't had anything more to do with that, but pretty sure it runs in the family. My dad has a pacemaker, his mum does as well. So, and they say it could turn into other things at a later age. So I'm very grateful that, yes, my appendix hurt like hell, but it kind of could have saved me from a lot more trouble down the line.
So you've not had any issues in regards to your heart since that operation?
No, they say there's only like a 1% chance of it coming back, and if it doesn't show up in the first 6 months, then I don't know how many zeros there are in it. I can't remember, but there's a very unlikely chance that it does come back.
Yeah, wow. Well, thanks for the appendix anyway.
Exactly. Always positive out of a negative situation.
Absolutely. No, I totally agree. And it's interesting you brought up that the anxiety. I was rushed into hospital because they thought I was having a heart attack because I used to get these pains here along my sternum, and it turned out to be the gallbladder speaking to me. The gallbladder was that badly infected. It was sending up basically crap up here. And I thought it was anxiety attacks from the shit that I'd been through, right? The workplace trauma and stuff like that. And so I put it down to anxiety. Now I still don't know if it ever was. I never felt anxious, even though I did suffer for anxiety I did suffer with anxiety for years, but I thought that was the result of it, right, coming up. And it turned out to be my gallbladder was just absolutely destroyed, but it was that destroyed sepsis had set in, and that's what was nearly the death experience, right?
Exactly.
But I was panicking, and they didn't even, your doctors found the other issue with the heart. They never found the issue with the gallbladder until I got rushed in 3 days later when I was nearly passing away. I'm like, why didn't you do those checks 3 days earlier?
Exactly.
We've gone off track there slightly, but back, and I'm glad we did, because I didn't know anything about that, and that's fascinating. Take us to that night then. We've got an understanding of where your head was at that night. Lack of sleep, super, super important. You talked to us a little bit about your bridge and your mindset leading up to that moment, and that is where we're going to leave part 1 with Matty Johns. It's a conversation. What a conversation. Here is what I want you to sit with, though. The setbacks that knock us off our feet are often the very things that force us to discover who we really are. Matty's journey through basketball, through failure, through those moments where everything felt like it was falling apart, that was not the end of his story. That was the beginning of a better one. Before you jump into part 2, ask yourself this: what setback in your own life has actually been preparing you for something greater? Sit with that. Write it down if you need to. Part 2 is waiting, and trust me, it is worth it. Come back for Matty Johns on Wednesday for part 2. But in between then, we've got Tuesday Truths tomorrow. We'll see you then. Bye for now.